Olio? Non ce l'hai? Cipolle?
Cipolle sì, guarda.
Impariamo l'italiano piano piano.
Un impegno quotidiano. Vado a. No. Vado in. No. Vado a. No.
Mayra, cosa stai scrivendo?
It's a note for Paolo. I want to say I'm going to the market, then to the doctor, then maybe into the city, and I cannot for the life of me remember which preposition goes where.
Vado al mercato, dal dottore, in città.
3 different prepositions for 3 destinations in the same sentence?
Sì,
And that, studenti saggi, is exactly why we're here today. Because in English, all 3 of those would be to. I'm going to the market, to the doctor, to the city. 1 word, no decisions.
in italiano ogni destinazione sceglie la sua preposizione.
And today we're starting with one that causes a lot of confusion for English speakers because it just looks so simple. It translates as to or at, and then Italian does something completely unexpected.
La preposizione a,
1 letter, and somehow still complicated.
piano piano.
Piano piano. Let's begin. Let's start with the use that you've probably encountered first. The letter A or the sound a with cities. In Italian, when you're going to a city or you're in a city, a is your word. I live in Rome.
Vivo a Roma. Vivo a Roma.
I'm going to Milan.
Vado a Milano. Vado a Milano.
She's arriving in Venice tomorrow.
Arriva a Venezia domani. Arriva a Venezia domani.
Same preposition whether you're already there or on your way. A handles both.
A Roma. A Milano. A Venezia. A non chiede se stai andando o se ci sei già.
Which is actually simpler than in English, where we say in Rome when we're there and to Rome when we're heading there. Italian just says a and lets the verb do the rest of the work. Now, cities are the easy part because the rule is clean. City, use a. But notice what happens in my note to Paolo. Vado al mercato. That's not a city. That's a place with a definite article attached. And that's where things get interesting. We'll come back to that shortly. Next up, the preposition a with indirect objects. Another use of a that you've likely been hearing since the beginning of your Italian journey. For example, I'm writing to Luca.
Scrivo a Luca. Scrivo a Luca.
I gave the book to Sarah.
Ho dato il libro a Sara. Ho dato il libro a Sara.
She's talking to Carlo.
Parla a Carlo. Parla a Carlo.
In each of these, a is pointing to the person receiving something. The letter goes to Luca, the book goes to Sarah, the words go to Carlo. In grammar terms, this is called the indirect object. Something is being given, said, shown, sent, or offered, and a points to who receives it.
A indica il destinatario.
Proprio così. And once you start noticing it, you'll find it in almost every conversation. Now, how about these examples? I'll show you the photos.
Ti mostro le foto. Ti mostro le foto.
But couldn't we actually say that using a?
Mostro le foto a te. Mostro le foto a te.
He explained everything to us.
Ci ha spiegato tutto. Ci ha spiegato tutto.
And with a,
Ha spiegato tutto a noi. Ha spiegato tutto a noi.
notice what happened. In the first version, the recipient was expressed as an indirect object pronoun, ti and chi, and it comes in front of the verb, and you don't hear the preposition a. Ti mostro le foto. Ci ha spiegato tutto. In the second version, the recipient is expressed with a plus a pronoun. A te, a noi. Mostro le foto a te. Ha spiegato tutto a noi. Both versions are correct. The forms with ti and chi are the ones you'll hear most often in everyday Italian. In the transcript, you'll find a table of indirect object pronouns and their equivalents using a. And for a refresher, let's take a minute and go over them here. First, the full form with a, and then instead using an indirect object pronoun. A me, me. A te, ti. A lui, gli, that's G-L-I. A lei, le, that's L-E. A noi, ci. A voi, vi. A loro, gli, again the same as for a lui, G-L-I. Gli is the most common way to say a loro in modern Italian, but you will also see loro, a more formal form. Now let's look at a in time expressions. This is another place where English and Italian part ways. At 8 o'clock.
Alle 8. Alle 8.
At noon.
A mezzogiorno. A mezzogiorno.
At midnight.
A mezzanotte. A mezzanotte.
At what time?
A che ora? A che ora?
A is the preposition Italian reaches for at specific points in time, a precise hour, a named moment of the day. And notice that with clock times, a combines with the definite article. Alle 8, all'una. The same fusion we saw with D. We'll take a look at those articulated forms coming up, but first, one thing worth flagging, English uses in for months and years, in January, in 2024. Italian doesn't use a for those. Months take a in some expressions, but more often in or nothing at all. We will have more on that when we reach the time system later in the series. And that brings us to something you've probably been collecting since your very first Italian lesson. Fixed expressions with a. For example, at home.
A casa. A casa.
On foot.
A piedi. A piedi.
At school.
A scuola. A scuola.
By hand or handmade.
A mano. A mano.
Out loud.
A voce alta. A voce alta.
In a low voice or quietly.
A voce bassa. A voce bassa.
Little by little.
Piano piano. O a poco. Piano piano. O a poco.
Two ways to say it, and one of them I'd say you probably already know very well. These expressions don't follow a rule you can derive. They're chunks, ready-made phrases that Italian hands you. And the research into how people learn languages is very clear on this. Fixed expressions like these are best learned as single units, not built from their parts each time.
Si imparano come si trovano.
Infatti, collect them, use them, and I wouldn't worry too much about why a piedi and not something else. That's just where a lives in that expression. A, one letter. Today we've seen it send you to a city, point to a recipient, fix you to a moment in time, and hand you a small collection of expressions you can use right away. That's not everything a does. Next episode, we go further into articulated forms, the verbs that belong to a, and finally, we'll head to the summer market on opening day.
E il mercatino non è oggi?
Well, I was writing the scene this morning.
E?
The story had other ideas.
Succede sempre.
It really does. Ci vediamo nella prossima puntata di
Le piccole
parole. Sono diverse?
Sì, sono belle rosse. Posso?
Pomodori.
Pomodori quali? Buoni. Questi qui? Quelli? Ti faccio lo sconto, 10.
Grazie.
Buona giornata,
Buona giornata.
Andiamo.